You know, when people ask about the hedge fund industry, there are really two ways to answer the question. I'll answer both. There's something that we've never really thought existed called the hedge fund industry, which is 8 or 10,000 participants globally. The barrier to entry is to raise your hand and say, I'm a hedge fund. And I'll leave it to George Soros and others, much more capable than me to predict what percentage of them will not be in the business going forward. I am actually quite optimistic on what we call the institutional alternative asset management area. Funds that prior to the crisis had a focus on risk management, on systems and financial controls, on building real businesses, on developing deep long-term relationships with institutional clients, on providing transparency, having a focus on compliance, and other areas. Prior to the crisis, in the institutional market, there was already a significant differentiation occurring between the institutional alternative asset management firms and all the other participants in the hedge fund arena. With the advent of the financial crisis, that differentiation has accelerated dramatically. There's been substantial investor disappointment in a number of areas. There was disappointment with the performance of many funds. There was disappointment when investors realized that many funds had only been generating return using leverage or using concentrated directional bets, and they didn't like the other side of that, which we've seen in the last 18 months. And there was, of course, disappointment when certain funds suspended or froze liquidity or in other ways suspended redemptions. There is a contraction going on in the industry right now. People have different numbers, but the total amount of capital in the industry that had grown dramatically is shrinking. Some part of that was from performance. Some part is from investor withdrawals as they need liquidity because of what's going on around the rest of the world. Having said that, prior to the crisis, if you look, the largest 20 firms, even as the industry grew dramatically and the number of participants grew dramatically, the percentage of total capital, not just the absolute dollar number, but the percentage of total capital in hedge funds that was allocated to the largest 20 firms grew each year prior to the crisis. We are very confident that going forward, that consolidation / contraction, because it's both, but that consolidation is going to be dramatic. And those who have performed and have delivered will I want to say flourish going forward, because we've got some hard times to get through in terms of the economy and the markets, but we'll do extremely well going forward.